This is the Stories of Legends, my own little special TTRPG unlike you've ever seen. I want to make a grand trailer, but I think I want to keep it simple. Now, who am I? Hey, my name is Zeb or Ari. I'm non-binary. I like the color green, it is really nice. I made this all on my own over many years. I like to make random stuff for the enjoyment of others. And of course my own enjoyment there. So, history. I used to be very much into D&D content on YouTube like circa 2019. I wanted to play it myself, but it's too complicated and no one really knew D&D like in my circle. So I never really got to play it. I decided to make my own. As I first called it Spiele, then the story game, and then of course like the Stories of Legends. I finished 6 campaigns by now, and I have like 3 going currently. Let's ignore that. Why this? Why should you care about this and not just go play D&D or Pathfinder or whatever there's out there? It's simple and easy to get into this TTRPG. It's also a mix of TTRPG mechanics and video game inspired by like Undertale, Earthbound, you know, RPGs. It's simple and easy because I simplified a lot of mechanics, like less around rolling dice and luck and more like it's more consistent basically, if you want it to be, of course. Of course there's a spare mechanic as well, like in Undertale Deltarune. Now of course this might sound contradictory, but you're gonna hear in a few moments that it isn't. It's also easy to simply start a session when it of course was all written and stuff already. Like there's no real player prep in it. The player just can immediately start. The characters basically being built while they're playing. Also it's completely free as long as you give credit. Like all the resources are just out there. And of course it's made with love. Okay, tell me more, you might be asking yourself. It has a normal mode, an easy mode, and hard mode classes. So depending on what you wanna do, you can either pick this or this class. Maybe you just wanted to have it easier. The magic set is also simply more than just magic. It has lore relevance, if you want. It has its own meaning. This isn't just magic. There are also different leveling systems depending on which class. Like there's simple just killing monsters, leveling up. There are of course these EXP mechanics more or less, while others you might get stat points from a kill, which you can then put onto your stats, while some others are just completely different. All in all, this TTRPG just encourages creativity, from the session maker to also of course the player, which of course basically any Dungeons & Dragons like TTRPG does that, but this one does it I think a bit more. Like I said, it also has a website with all the information. Which is this one. Link is in the description. Let's go over to it. So, here we are on the website, the Stories of Legends. So I put a lot of time into this, even if it doesn't look too pretty, but it works in my opinion. The main page here basically just describes what I just said, just in more detail. So I suggest you reading to this if you wanna know more about the Stories of Legends. There's also an introduction video which goes 17 minutes. I would suggest also watching this even though it is slightly outdated. Not very much, just slightly. Over here we have the stats, which has a small introduction. And while some of them are basically what you imagine, like attack being attack, defense being defense, they have their slight differences, as I made it also easier and like simpler to use. But some are also quite different, like kills, spell kills, swords, you know? There are also special stats, which have their own little things. There are also classes here, which you can see here's the normal mode, the easy mode, the hard mode, meta class, with determination, termination. They all have their own little things, which I find really cool. At most, if you don't want to have like a hard time, you can just play Destructive Rage, or if you want to have a challenge, you can play Bad Luck Soul. And here's some important info. This website is still slightly in work in progress, but when you have access to it, it is basically complete, you know? Here's the pre-organization, like before you start a session. Here's the battle loop, how the battles work in this game. And over here are the examples. Here you can read up on stuff that I came up with, which you can take inspiration from, because you don't really have items you can just use. You have, when you make a session or a campaign yourself, you have to imagine the items yourself, or even like also the spells. Here also some building examples, also character/enemy examples, because characters and enemies are like, they're all built the same way. Also down here is an example session that I played with a friend of mine, so you can get like a feel on how it works. Over here some calculators, like the gun damage, because guns have like a range attack, like -3 to 7, then you calculate the damage output. Soul points, destructive rage, and the block dodge rate, which is down here. But yeah, I suggest just read through it, and then you can make your own session for your friends. If you have questions, suggestions, or anything really, be sure to another video. Just ask, suggest, whatever. This is the video where you can contact me really about this thing here. But now, I have a question for you. What legend will you be? Have fun exploring and making your own stories.